觉得因为有3名新人选手的加入，我们队伍现在充满了冲劲，然后队伍也正在进行着磨合期嘛，然后希望我们队伍也可以磨合的越来越好。然后，我和我们的新 AD 也在努力的磨合，然后想打出更好的配合。然后我觉得和之前的 AD 相比的话，我们的这个新 AD 的话可能会更全面一些。不管是在对线上和打团上，都会比之前要好一些。
Honestly, Clement, I'm going to have to agree with Maestro there. Everyone, welcome back to the LPL. You looked at our MVP from last game, the Victor Snake 1-0 so far in the series, talking about how he's happy to be with his new AD, thinks they're going to work on some great synergy, and he hopes the team keeps improving, and he's going to be a big part of that.
He's also going to be the MVP of Game 1 after that beautiful Rakan performance. Currently, Rakan is the highest win rate champion in the LPL, sitting at over 80% over this game. And we can basically see why. Rakan is not only a great engage tool, he's also a great counter-engage tool. And I think the reason Maestro was able to take down the MVP was because of that 5-man taunt off a Doinby Wombo combo.
Honestly, Maestro's Rakan play was so sick I could barely follow it, because at the beginning of every team fight, he'd go in immediately onto whoever he could find on the engage, whether it was 2 at 1.5 players or whatever, and he'd say, okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to flash, I'm going to W, whatever. And then immediately, as soon as he got the taunts, as soon as he got the knockups, would double E back to the back line so that he could get an angle for the re-engage. And it was so quick. Every time, Clement. He just played it so brilliant, dancing back and forth in and out of the fight.
And he really took it up onto Crisp as well. You know, Crisp was FPX's kind of marquee player that they wanted to sell for the future. He was their highest ranked player for a long time. There were actually a lot of both Korean teams and teams here in China that were seeing praises about Crisp's performance, especially on the solo queue ladder. But unfortunately, Maestro completely outplayed him in that Game 1. He took the first blood off of Crisp as well. And it's so stunning to me because Maestro really wasn't known as a Rakan player. He was actually much more of the Tom Kench and Braum type of player where he was protecting his AD carry. It's really nice to see him turn to a new page and pull out something new.
And with seeing how successful he was in that game, do you think his Rakan is now at the point where it needs to be considered in pick ban, or is it just he really had a standout breakout game?
I feel like they could show Rakan again on the first 3 picks. They are going to be selecting the red side, which is quite interesting in itself, but what they could do is show the Rakan and basically force another ban out of FPX. I don't think FPX are necessarily going to ban down the Rakan. I felt like their laning phase was still very good against it, but they just made way too many mistakes.
Yeah, and we were talking about this during the break. You know, Snake, every single player played so brilliantly. And sure, it wasn't perfect, but they were playing incredibly well. They played to the roles they had to have for their team fights, for their team composition. Whereas FPX, they had a clear path to victory, and they just could not execute.
I don't think FPX need to change their game plan much. They had the winning bot side. They had Doinby on a champion that could split push later into the game and then come into team fights. This is the best way to use Doinby. He's very good on split pushing mid laners, and then he can join team fights and be the main initiator for your team as well. So I felt like their game plan fit what they wanted to do, but their early game mistakes were just simply way too costly. Early 4-0-1 scoreboard for Flandre. There's nothing Doinby can do against that Aurelia, and their game plan of split pushing Doinby kind of just falls apart.
I'm wondering if they're going to perhaps focus more on Flandre going forward, because we saw him really have an amazing game. He ended, I think, 7-0-1 or some ridiculous scoreline like that. And while Maestro was indeed our MVP, Flandre played out of his mind as well. So if they put more resources into the top lane, they're going to have to rely more heavily on their bottom lane to keep up that pressure, keep up the expectations that are set on them. Or maybe they'll just draft a little differently.
You know, sometimes I feel like FPX are just too good for their own good. Does that make sense to you? Because they want to play the top side. They also want to play the bottom side at the same time. And if you look at Gimgoon and LWX, neither of these players can really play defensively. They're pretty much all out in lane, especially LWX. He's known as a shotgun for a reason. You know, you can't really control the kickback when he fires off. And I don't think that they can really change the way this player plays. So I feel like they still have to go bot side just to make sure that LWX is fine, that he's not doing crazy plays even though he's playing on the weak side of the map. But at the same time, you kind of let go of FLICKR in that situation. So I agree with you. In theory, yes, they should go topside. They should play with Gimgoon. They should try to shut down FLICKR. I'm just not sure that they can actually do it with their bot side personnel.
Okay, then if they're going to have to rely on the shotgun and aiming him, I think what they'll need to do, based on what you said, is get a bot side that if it gets ahead, no matter how fed FLICKR is, they can actually win. Because the problem last game was, yes, Doinby was ahead, and yes, LWS and Crisp were ahead until that fateful tower dive. They were ahead at one point. And that was great for them, and FPX were really looking good, but they were ignoring the top lane, and FLICKR, no one expected him to get that fed, yes, but they didn't have an insurance policy for that situation. If Gimgoon could not take him out in lane, they expected the Vladimir to do well, the transfusion giving him a lot of sustain, a lot of pressure, but it didn't work, so then they had no answers left on the board. I think if they write in more insurance policies to their draft and have other options, either overpoweringly strong bottom side or a top side that can recover and at least stall FLICKR, they might have a much better chance.
And I really like the first option you were talking about. You have to remember, Chris and LWX, they are known for a 2v2 kill lane combo. They're the first ones to really bring out stuff like the Tristana-Alistar combination. They also ran the Kai'Sa-Leona kill combination at 6. So that could be something that FPX can gravitate towards. They might not be the strongest lane overall, but they can change that with jungle pathing, make it a kill lane where they can consistently snowball off of that and just have that lane carry them into the late game. I really don't think you can leave LWX alone. Guns unattended for are dangerous to the entire family. So I want to see them go for the Gimgoon. I really do. I feel like Gimgoon deserves his day. He deserves the resources being invested in him. But that's just not what we've seen from FPX.
And especially against a team like Snake, who are so willing to put resources into FLICKR, to invest heavily in his success, in what he's able to bring to the team, Gimgoon might have to be on something that's a little bit lower attention.
I think the Urgot would be a good pickup. I know it was banned the last game, but he's pretty much the epitome of you can leave me in lane and just not care about me. The last game he went for the Vladimir. It was pretty much just a combo piece to amplify the damage coming out from Doinby, nothing more than that. And because they had such a good bot side, I felt like Gimgoon from the draft, he knew that he was going to be playing alone. I don't think that's the best position for Gimgoon to be in. He's known as a great Fiora player. He was one of the first players to take out Urgot even before the Echoing Flames buffs. So you know, I just feel like FPX, they have too many talented players that sometimes you just feel like Gimgoon becoming a role player is kind of a waste.
And well, and like you're saying, their draft sort of reflects the problem you've been mentioning, which is they have too much talent for their own good. Their draft had too much going for it, if that makes sense. It was a Yasuo comp through and through, and every pick that they had could somehow enable that Doinby Yasuo. And yes, Doinby's great at Yasuo, but they focused so hard on enabling that they forgot that Gimgoon might need a lower econ top laner. The bot lane might need something that has a little bit more maneuverability. Yes, they need aggression, but is there something else they forgot in lieu of getting the knock-up from the Alistar, the displacement? Every single pick that game worked so well with the Yasuo, and when the Yasuo didn't come online, they had nothing left. So I'd like to see their draft reflect that change, and maybe they bring it back a little bit. They realize, yeah, we've got great players, but there's a limited amount of resources on the map. Let's play towards that.
I actually really like their draft for Game 1. I don't mind the draft as much coming out from FPX's ban pick coach here, which apparently is not Warhorse. But overall, what the composition really needed was a mid-game wombo combo and snowball off one fight incredibly hard. You think about a level 9 or level 11 Vladimir coming in from the top side, the Yasuo combo straight up when he's 2 items, and also the Lucian sitting on the power spike of Blade of the Ruined King and Black Cleaver. You can't beat that. There's no way you beat that. So Game 1, I said the plan, I think it was fine. It was just the execution that there was way too many holes into it. Chris definitely misplaying early game, giving away his life, and just feeding FLICKR too many kills.
Like a French rebellion it's all about the execution, Clement. Stumbled a little bit, but so did FPX, so I feel a little bit better. FPX going for very similar bans from last game, the Olaf, Lee Sin, and Lissandra, and Snake's going to answer up by the Cassiopeia, Aatrox, and surprisingly the Yasuo.
It does look like Snake agrees with me. The draft from FPX was super dangerous, so they are going to take away one big combo piece. And also, FPX taking away the Lissandra, taking away safe champions that Mala can play and forcing them into a skill matchup into the mid lane.
Now, the Urgot, as we were mentioning, being picked up there by Gimgoon. We've seen him play it before. He's been very talented on it. And now, Flandre getting his Akali, though.
So this is a matchup, like we've been talking about. The Urgot does come out ahead slightly in the early game, but later on, when the Akali gets the sustain, there's not a whole lot that you can do against this lane. But at least, it's a lane that doesn't really need attention and is not going to lose hard and can allow FPX to focus more towards the bot side.
And the Galio pickup for Snake, we saw Malo play that incredibly well, able to dodge out a lot of ganks and turn a lot of situations into his team's favor.
Again, we're going to see the Gragas being hovered over by Tien. He's been probably the most prominent Gragas player we have overall, just always locks the champion in when he has the opportunity. And it's also a great combo piece coming in with the Kai'Sa. Very easy to put those stacks onto enemy champions with the amount of CC that he's carrying.
Of course, that Kai'Sa also gives them late game insurance, similar to what the Yasuo potentially could have been for them last game. Though we've seen this time and time again, sometimes that Kai'Sa's early game is a little bit too much. But Snake not going to answer the bot lane just yet. Going to pick up Camille once again, likely for SOFM.
I have to say, I would rather see the Camille banned over the Olaf. Now, I know Olaf has great solo invading potential and can be a bit of a nightmare for the Gragas, especially with how many CC abilities he has packed into him. But I just feel like Camille in the hands of SOFM and Team Snake it's just too hard to avoid the perfect setup from them. And once again, we're going to see the Galio and Camille Cannonball type of composition come out.
And I love that from Snake last game. They executed extremely well on it. The engages from SOFM with the follow-up Hero's entrance from Mala spelled disaster for FPX in many a team fight. The Ezreal ban coming out from FPX. Don't want to see that again, but Snake going with the Victor ban?
So the Victor ban, we have seen it mainly in the top side and in the bot side. Not a lot for mid laners, but it's actually an okay matchup into Galio. It's a non-interactive lane that packs a lot of damage later on. What I'm really worried about FPX for this draft is you still have to remember the Rakan and Xayah combination is still there and available for Snake. So with their last ban, I would like to see one of them taken out. And there we go. The Rakan is not going to go back to Maestro.
They don't want him pulling out the exact same sick engages he got last time, but Asura this time grabbing the Sivir.
So Sivir so far in the LPL still sitting at 100% win rate. Just the ability to negate the bot lane is so powerful in this current meta. It's very hard to take a tower from Sivir, and if she gets the right matchup, she can then go and start shutting down your turret platings. So it's basically a no-lose situation coming in from Snake, and also with the combination that they have so much global mobility.
Now the Renekton coming in from FPX. Looks like that's going to be headed to the top lane. Sorry, Gimgoon.
Not necessarily. You have to remember, Doinby is actually a Renekton player. Mid lane player, by the way.
Of course he is.
Yes.
Of course he is. Every time I hear more about Doinby, I just love the man a little bit more. So potential for Renekton mid. I have to ask it now, Clement. How does that fare into Galio?
It's still most likely going topside. I will be honest with you. I think Urgot versus the Galio is a fine matchup in that lane, and most likely Gimgoon will be taking up the Renekton. But you know, it is a mainly physical damage bruiser, so you can get past Galio's Shield of Durant, the magic shield coming out from him. I do still expect the Renekton to go topside, however.
There it is. All right. Okay, you got me a little bit excited, but let's deal with the draft we have.
Dialing it back.
And the players that have the champions they have. The Braum going to be the last lock-in for Snake, and the answer is going to be Crisp's nice, clean Tahm Kench.
So what we're seeing here is that FPX have an extremely powerful level 2 gank straight into the bot side. If everyone can get the CC down, you have a stun coming out from Tahm Kench and knock up from the Gragas, and just the passive coming down from Kaisa is enough to snag kills up. So I do expect Snake, they will have to play very defensive in the early game, and their starting positions, and just kind of start the game the way they did the last time around. They're going to be, excuse me, a little bit behind in the laning phases, but then look to catch up with their global presence.
We'll have to see how well they're able to do that executing in-game, and I'm going to keep eyes once again on the top lane, because honestly, I want to see if FLICKR is going to pop off again, because it's always fun to watch him do his thing, get the engages for his team. But, you know, as you said, the bot lane, also another point of contention with that Sivir. If they're going to get ganked early, she is a lot more vulnerable before 6, before she has that ultimate. Yes, Braum is able to get himself out if she's in the right position, but if Sivir's caught out, she really doesn't have much of a chance outside of just one spell shield.
That's exactly the case. So once more, FPX, like we were talking about, should have the focus into the bot side for their kills. I feel like Renekton versus Akali is exactly the matchup they're looking for, because you don't need to throw resources at the Renekton. He will carry out his own lane. It's going to be fairly non-interactive between Akali and Renekton, and I feel like both of these players in the top side are just going to be looking for plays elsewhere.
And now we're coming into Game 2, FPX versus Snake. Can Snake get the 2-0 and turn around their disastrous last split record?
Already good signs in the new year. Taking a game off of EDG and a cheeky level 1 being set up. We've actually seen the exact same thing in the LCK being played. If you're sitting in that brush, you're just dead, because what FLICKR will try to do is chase you towards the top side, and then Braum and Camille can collapse. So not falling for that trap. A lot of people, these are definitely some LCK viewers right here.
And, you know, LCK is known to come out with some interesting strategies, but we have a few specialties of our own here in the LPL. Bloodthirstiness being one of them, but it's a fun bloodthirsty. It's a strategic bloodthirsty, Clement. So level 1, fairly inactive, just going to get vision between the river as usual, as was last game. The big point we're looking for here in the early game is going to be that level 2 from FPX.
You can see the teams both setting up for it, making sure that there's no early wards being taken down. Of course, a bot side start.
Bot side start, fairly standard nowadays, especially you get the better leash. Can both reconvene. It's going to be all about the pathing. I don't think this time SOFM is going to be able to get the triple buff, the double scuttle. I think that may have been a fluke.
Fairly standard words from both sides, just lighting up the single ward in the rivers. Making sure that no one's going to go for early invades.
FLICKR, of course, with the fleet footwork, we've seen this many a time, just gives him sustain in the lane, and especially against a lane like Renekton, it's very helpful because he has sustain of his own. Now we're just going to see a little bit of pushing in the bot lane. SOFM securing the Scuttle Crab will help guard against the level 2 ganks you were talking about.
Tien on the Gragas, not as powerful early on, is going to look to avoid the contest, but of course both junglers now showing on the map.
SOFM spotted out once again by a ward.
Right, bit of orb walking happening right there. Now I have to say, the Colonial is not very good at estimating win percentages strictly based off of composition. I think I've been much better at doing that job.
That's why we use you and not him.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah. Don't talk yourself out of a job here, Clement. We need to be careful. Now SOFM just getting a little bit of vision in the top side of the jungle of FPX once again. Similar early game strategy here from him. He's able to land the hook shot, but not the full stun. Malo wants to come in. Channeling the taunt. This is going to be a 2v2 so far. The flash in from Doingby, but Malo avoids it with a well-timed Justice Punch. But both flashes burned there, and FLICKR's here on the backside. He might be safe. He just needs a shuriken flip. Oh, he's just going to go for the flash, keeping it safe. But 3 flashes blown in the same play 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah, you really don't want to contest a level 3 Renekton. That's probably the strongest champion in the entire game at that point. And I can understand why Snake immediately tried to flash out of the situation, even after Doingby had already used his disdain. Didn't find Mala after that play. But I would say this is one of those times where you kind of doubt SOFM. Sometimes he's a genius. Sometimes he takes you on a wild ride that you regret going on.
And this is not really looking great for Snake, right? The top side of their map is one of their most active sides, always has been, and especially now still with Mala and Flandre, so 2 solo laners you want to give support to. But now that both they and their jungler are out of Flash, there's a distinct lack of playmaking that can happen for them.
I feel like if we were talking about win conditions and shutting down Flandre, this would be the perfect game to do so. It's an interesting 2v2, actually a 3v2 developing.
Flandre still wants to go in. Tien with a good disengage there with the body slam. Just going to back away.
I think this would probably be the best game for FPX to try and shut down Flandre. No early flashes early on. And also the Camille, no flash either. You can already see Gimgoon setting up a very difficult freeze for Flandre to break out of. He's going to need some jungle help there.
And Tien is going to be rotating down, still on that top side. He's pinging out the river, actually. Now Mala back in lane, no longer has that teleport, so can't help out Flandre if he gets in trouble.
Good play here. Flandre just trying to get the wave to full push into the Renekton tower.
Not quite lucky enough with that. They will see Tien taking the Scuttle Crab here. He's going to keep vision, make sure no one can influence that top lane, because for now at least, Gimgoon has the edge.
I suspect we're going to see a fairly subdued early game once more, even though FPX's lanes should be slightly ahead across the board most of the time. I don't think they have enough to really convert those into kills. On the later 2 days of the LPL this week, we have seen game time drastically lengthen. It used to start around 31. We're now up by 1 more minute, 32. So there's a lot less mistakes being made, a lot less teleports that are wasted.
It's actually interesting to watch these less active early games come out from the LPL because they're usually not what we expect. But since the turret plating changes, as you've mentioned, since the teleport changes, it's better to just stick to your lane, make sure you don't lose that huge gold advantage. So we're going to see that once again here. Snake not getting hit by the early level 2 gank, however, in the bottom lane, so that's at least 1 point in their favor.
Nice reaction time coming out from Flandre. Dodges out on the W, incoming from Renekton, but that's still not a comfortable lane. You can see the early freeze and the blown flash, taking a huge toll on Flandre's CS. So there could be a point in the game where we could start seeing Gimgoon actually use offensive teleports. They're very rare in this day and age, but I don't think you can do much against the Akali and towards the top lane. As soon as I say that, he teleports straight back into lane, so
I guess he disagrees. That's what he's saying there. He's like, no, I disagree, and I will prove it by hitting the F key really quick. Now, he is up in CS, and he does have a lot of pressure on that tower, so maybe he just wants the extra turret plating gold, get himself a little bit more of a lead so that maybe potentially with the next teleport, he can take it around the map.
I never noticed, but he is a dirty D-flasher.
That's right. F is for flash, it's not D for flash. Mala going for the Justice Punch, engage onto Doinby, just going for a quick trade, takes a lot of health out. I don't know if Doinby was expecting the gank to be then. I mean, Tien was on the way, but a little bit early of an engage.
This is interesting because they're pulling the top side towards the bot right now. Gimgoon already using the blast cone to head towards the mid. They want to get a contest down here.
Flandre still has teleport, but there's not a good ward for him to teleport to.
This could get very hairy with Asura and Maestro coming in.
I think Snake might just want to give this one up. Looks like that's exactly what they're doing. Just going to give over the blue. They don't want to risk the fight. They don't want to risk getting behind early in the game. They know that if they can just keep playing their game, they once again have a chance of taking it down. But if they get knocked off and into a different plan of action by FPX, suddenly things are not looking as good for them.
Most of that play was actually from the leveraging of Gimgoon. He did show mid lane to shove the wave in. Doinby took a unfavorable trade earlier on. So that was actually a risky play if it was just a strictly 3v3 scenario. I like what FPX are doing. They are coordinating very well cross-map just to get advantages.
And I want to point out once again, FPX, early game vision around mid, absolutely insanely good. They've been able to spot out SOFM's pathing this entire game while Tien has been going around and basically just establishing that vision, keeping his lane safe.
I love you, Doinby. Never change. Like, you're never going to imagine Doinby just playing something that's super basic and going like, oh, I'll play Lissandra Galio for a split. Like, he's just never going to do that. He's going to tell his team to, you're focusing on me now. I'm the captain. Place those wards, keep my lane safe, I'll hard carry you with my Kled and my Yasuo.
Or in this case, his Urgot. I mean, I'm not going to knock him. I trust him. But this is not usually what I expect to see Doinby on. Teleport coming into lane from Crisp here. Going to get punished with a quick Winter's Bite, but it does absolutely nothing. And this lane down bot has been fairly low action so far.
Not really much that FPX can do in this lane without jungle support. If the Gragas does go down there, of course, they can have a lot of CC and instant burst damage onto the Sivir, but just in the 2v2, strictly 2v2 sense, I expect the Asura to be constantly shoving into that wave.
Doinby clearing out, looking towards the bottom side. Dragon is available, but most of the vision around it is set up by Snake, so Tien and Doinby might be looking to clear that now.
Not much of a gold lead for FPX anywhere. Even with the triple flashes burned into the top side, nothing was really converted.
Doinby is looking for a fight. He's got exhaust now.
Gets the slow. That's it.
Darn. I was hoping for something a little bit more exciting, Doinby. Come on. We know you can do it. But now just wave clear here from Asura. And honestly, I'm a little bit worried about this bot lane for Snake because Kai'Sa's one of her weakest points is that early game. And thus far, she hasn't been punished for it. She's in fact up like 2 CS. Not a lot, but for someone with a weak early game, that doesn't exactly bode well. But here comes SOFM. They want to shut down Doinby. Here comes the roam up. Chris going to save his mid laner. The heal coming out from him, but Flandre's here. Doinby goes down. First blood coming out. Here comes the hero's entrance, and once again going in with the ultimate. Flandre won't be able to make it out, but neither will Crisp. 2 kills to 1. Oh, it's not over yet. Tien versus SOFM, but he does not want this fight. Tien, be careful. SOFM with a good hook shot would be able to get the kill. It looks like he just wants to play it safe and back off. 2 for 1 in favor of Snake.
That was a great roam incoming from Flandre. He did not have lane control in that lane, but he was still able to roam before Gimgoon, find that opportunity, and collapse onto Doinby. So it does look like Snake as a unit probably has better coordination across the board. That was a 4v2 collapse straight onto the bot lane, and even though Crisp was able to delay Doinby's eventual death, they still went down, and you know, Snake, I feel like they're back in the game once more.
Back in the game, just going to farm back up. First items for both, 80 carries coming out in the bottom lane. Top lane, no items completed, same for the mid. So we're just going to see that fight one more time.
The most important thing to notice here is the lane position in the top side. You see Flandre is already on the move, coming in. This is not a lane he had control in, but he's still able to get in at the right timing, get the extra kill. Probably does greed a little bit for Grisp right here. I don't think he necessarily needed to die. I believe SOFM might have been able to finish off the job, but hey, you win some, you lose some.
Tien, a lot of pressure here into the top lane. Flandre going to look to push him out, push him away from the Krugs. Ooh, that's a lot of damage from Flandre. Smite will help him heal up, but turret plating going to be pressured here. Second one taken in just a second.
You can see there's not a good answer for Snake on the bot side either. So FPX, I feel like they're finally waking up, finding some action. Not sure you want to take 3 tower shots. That's a bit much from Gimgoon. And the ult is almost up.
Man. Name a more iconic duo.
Yeah, you know, sometimes that's a compliment in the LPL where these guys just don't see turrets. They'll make the play anyway. I'm not sure that's the case in FPX scenario.
No. Oh, a nice prediction from Flandre, but Gimgoon was quicker. The teleport from Mala won't be enough. He'll complete it, but all he gets to do is clear the wave.
All right, I'm sorry. I found that just a little bit funny. So somewhere on the map, Camille also died at the same time. Let's watch SOFM.
Oh.
Yeah, just doing SOM things.
Huh.
So cute plays. Cute throws, I would say, from Snake on both ends of the map. What they were trying to do on the top side was get teleport from Mala and just make that play. But Gimgoon just faster on the fingers. Flandre couldn't get his smoke screen down in time. Instantly gets killed. And SOFM just throwing out a celebratory Hextech ultimatum after he's been hit by
So
the
for
ultimate.
all of you League scientists out there, Vanderl, if you're watching, that's how that interaction goes. You're still dead.
Yes, you are.
No luck there for SOFM. And now a huge push into the top lane. And I feel like this is the early game FPX wished they had last game.
If I was playing against Snake, I wish they play like that all the time. You know, just make silly plays that are clearly misplaced, but okay. You know, Snake are really gearing up for some entertainment today. They want to give the crowd something to cheer for, so.
I think maybe they're figuring that since they came out all this way to the arena, they might as well give them a 3-game series. So
everyone loves a comeback story, you know? Everyone loves an underdog.
They're going to sit here and they're going to say, okay, we're just going to sack this middle game, then we'll get a clean third game. Everyone will be happy. Their tickets will feel a little bit more worth the money, and I respect that. Realistically,
I don't think the tower's going to go down just on this push alone. Snake is setting up for a counter engage.
They have all 4 members here mid. FLICKR, of course, still pushing top. There's enough wave clear from Asura that I believe they'll be fine here in the middle lane for now.
But it's going to be very difficult for Snake to actually reach this bot lane. They're going to have to walk through a lot of FPX wards. And Tien on that Gragas, if he finds a good angle in blind vision, then he can knock someone out and just pile in on him to get the kill very easily. So you can see that this rotation not really working out for Snake, and they might be losing all 3 of their outer turrets very soon.
Just going to stall as best they can, though. Get the farm on their carries. Joinby teleporting back into lane. But Asura will have the wave clear needed to keep the tower alive for a little bit longer. But as you said, there's so much pressure on all 3 lanes. Mala expected to solo clear these waves.
The most important moments that we're going to be looking for in this game are those situations where Snake's players have been able to clear out the lanes, and then they need to go in onto FPX, find that grouped up engage, leverage their globals, leverage the thrill of the hunt, on the Sivir, and really close out on those FPX players. Now, if they can't get those waves in their favor, or if FPX can coordinate well enough where they're keeping all of the Snake players underneath their towers, then it's just going to be a straight-up gold advantage for them.
Speaking of gold advantage, FLICKR getting a little bit too close for comfort here. He's going to get stunned up. Still has Shuriken Flip. He uses it as OFM comes in. All this is going to do is dissuade Tien for now. FLICKR is still not going to have a safe lane.
Really no winning points on the map for Snake so far. I feel like in FPX, all Tien needs to do is just keep track on Camille, make sure that SOFM is not able to find and engage in any of these lanes, and over time, the chip damage will go in.
First tower going to be taken down here for FPX here in the bottom lane shortly. And then next up, I'm predicting, going to be the mid lane, because no one's there to stop it quite yet.
So we've seen the first tower timing be significantly extended in the LPL on the patch 9.1. It used to be around 12 minutes, but in this patch it's actually gone to 14 and a half. So a much quieter early game, not a lot of action happening until those turret platings really fall off. And we're seeing that kind of happen in this game as well. The Bulwark really preventing you from taking towers quickly in the laning phase.
Now Asura needs to be careful here. Tien not going to be able to get the engage, so they'll be safe for now. Just going to keep wave clearing here. But that tower is not long for this world. The Ghost in from Joinby will force them off. Little bit too scary to just ignore for them.
And unfortunately for Snake, it's going to be a Mountain Drake, which will transition very well into objective traps later on into the game. So I think this game, right now, if FPX can play a very tight macro game, they can close out Snake without a fight.
To be fair, last game we also couldn't really call much of what FPX did tight. This game, we could say the same for Snake's play, so you might be right. But so far, FPX have not demonstrated that ability to play that tight of a macro game. They have the individual players. This has always been their problem. They have the players. Sometimes they almost have the strategies, but they never quite have the coordination to pull it off. So this could be their chance to prove us wrong.
I think it should be fairly stock standard for FPX. Just make sure that you want to keep tabs on SOFM and Mala. I think those are their 2 most dangerous members in terms of the collapse. They've done a very good job at keeping vision off of their side of the map. You can see that there's only a lone ward in the mid lane where FLICKR could possibly teleport into.
And he's going to have his hands full dealing with Gimgoon here in the bottom lane as well. Granted, FLICKR is only down a few CS, so he's keeping up in the lane, but he isn't able to get power in the lane. He's not able to force Gimgoon off of anything because Gimgoon has so much damage, because he's able to get these quick split-second engages, these lightning-quick trades, and FLICKR just doesn't have anything to answer until he's like half health.
On the other side for FPX, they're, I wouldn't say too worried about the scaling overall. Sure, Urgot and Renekton are not exactly the best scaling champions, but they still have LWX on the Kai'Sa. So they could just be waiting for power spikes. They could take this really slow. But I think the end goal should be the same. You already have the Mountain Drake. You have a team that has a lot of engage potential. Just set up on the red side, and they're already doing that. They have all outer towers down. It's going to be up to Snake on how to find the correct engage to snipe off a member and bring themselves back into the fight.
The top side of the map has the tools for it. Once again, SOFM looks like building towards the GA first. This way, he'll be able to get the engages, be safe even if he dies during them, and give his team time to clean up. But this time, he doesn't have his engage buddy in FLICKR. FLICKR is a lot squishier. He has the stopwatch, but not a whole lot in the way of tanking. There's no GA, so he might have to play a little bit more carefully. Tins, pop the Predator. Snake will get away fine.
Scaring them off. They're probably going to transition all of their members into the bot side. They already have the wave prep from Renekton, Gimgoon in the bot pushing up. But they're deciding that, nah, we don't really want to give up vision around Baron. Just going to see if we can catch out some members.
FPX going to set up a little bit of vision in the red side of Snake. And oof, it's looking pretty positive from the Colonel, and I kind of agree with him.
I don't think I've seen such a one-sided math equation from the Colonel right here. Usually he's a bit more, I would say, timid in making these predictions. And if you look at the gold lead, it isn't exactly massive. It's only about a 3K gold lead in FPX's favor.
They do have a lead in how much they've gotten done on the map, however. They've gotten a huge vision line up towards Baron. They've pushed in all the lanes. FLICKR can't answer to Gimgoon. And in the rest of the map, FPX are the ones dictating the pace, dictating the flow, dictating who does what.
I really like these vision fights over the Raptor wards and kind of the back red brush as well. You can see it's pretty much a classical warding positions. You want the control wards to set up your second defensive line around your Raptor. Make sure you have a good base to poke your head out of. SOFM just testing for targets within the brush. You can do that on Camille.
Good slows going down, no stuns just yet, and they're not going to go for the full engage. Don't be getting chunked to half. They're not quite ready to go for it, Clement, but we've been saying for the past few minutes that Snake needs to do something. They need to get proactive. They need to make a play, try and make a pick, and thus far, they really haven't been able to.
So I just want to explain what SOFM is doing right here. A lot of Camille players will understand this, but you do get extra range on your hook shot if you are moving towards enemy champions. So you can use that as a face check tool, basically. And we can see SOFM using it 3 times on the course of clearing out his red side vision. Very smart play coming in from him.
Similar to the zombie brand flailing arm animation, but we obviously don't see that one as much. And it looks a lot sillier, Clement.
I'm not sure the brand one reveals people, though.
it used to at the very least. If you walk towards them in a bush, he'd just start going all wacky, wavy, and flailing.
Isn't that like an unfair advantage, I would say?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Okay. I didn't know it was that serious. I thought we were talking about different things, but that's another good reason to start buying those skins, I would say.
Yeah, 1,820 RP available in any League of Legends skin store. Is that a good salesman voice? I feel like that's like the infomercial voice.
I give it a pass.
Okay, I'll take it.
I like it.
This is sort of the infomercial of Snake games, too. It's not quite the real thing. We've seen a better product somewhere else, but this is the one we're getting given. Snake really have been having a tough time here in the early game, in the mid game, and they haven't found a footing. They haven't found any advantages, and instead, FPX are just running them around the map, and now they're looking for Baron.
Ooh, here we go. Snake are really slow on the play this time around, and it's only a two-man FPX Baron take. 3 people are still standing around the mid lane. They don't want to give it away, but Snake know now.
There's the Lord. Second Farsight Totem Trinket has been used. And FLICKR's come up now from the bottom lane, but it looks like FPX have been dissuaded from their Baron take, so he's just going to have to stick around for a little bit, see if they can get an engage. If not, possibly go back bottom.
And all throughout this time, Snake really haven't fell that far behind in terms of the gold lead. Still a fairly even game that can be turned around in just one single team fight. And just SOFM with the Camille, keeping Snake in the game again and again with that hook shot. Just checking for brushes.
He's still building up to that Guardian Angel. I suspect once he has that, we'll see a little bit more action from the side of Snake because they'll have the security and the engage. But in the meantime, it's just a slow farm game for them while FPX takes advantages elsewhere. Once again, here comes the Baron attempt from FPX.
Another Baron steal being done, but I suspect that Snake probably know it by now. You can see them already posturing over. They're going to go on Doinby.
Teleport coming in. Doinby's low, but he is so beefy. He goes golden. Here's entrance. Not going to land on anyone. Not going to get a knockup. Doinby gets taunted. He's going to be the first one to fall. Gimgoon is also the next target, but Baron has already been taken by FPX. If they can get out, they might get an advantage here. It is a 2-for-1 in favor of Snake, but the Baron goes over to FPX.
Yeah, the question is how much more can Snake actually take? They do have a 4v3 on the map right now, but core members, actually only Maestro going down, so not much that it seems like they can do. Their minion waves were fairly pushed in, and that was a successful play from FPX, just sacrificing their star player in Doinby, but definitely worth it.
I feel like if Snake had gone for a similar engage around anything other than this Baron, they would have had a similar result. Because if they could have found a choke at any point, they would have been able to pick this off. But instead, they lose the Baron. They lose one member. They only get 2 kills off of it, Clement. So I'm not sure what Snake are going to do to stay in this game.
Falling 5k behind. They still have 3 towers to take for FPX's side, so we could reasonably see that ballooning to an 8k lead, and with the late game Kaisa as well. So things, like you said, are looking pretty dire for Snake. I think they need to catch FPX out of transition before they're really grouped up, but we can also see Snake are pretty aware of that situation, and they're keeping their 3-man very, very far back, just in case that Snake might find an engage.
Now the Guardian Angel coming in onto SOFM. Talking about this as a potential turning point for them to start engaging, but now it seems like a moot point. The Baron's gone down. They need to defend against this. They don't have time to do anything else.
There is one thing that Snake could pull out of their hat, and that's Asura with the Infinity Edge. With that Ricochet, she could do so much damage to this team. There's still not a lot of armor items on any of these champions so far, so she only needs a very short window. I'd say 3 or 4 auto attacks, and she could change the entire course of the team fight. But it's just, who is going to buy that time for Snake?
FLICKR's in the bottom lane without teleport, so certainly not him. They seem to be just sort of sacrificing the mid lane at this point, and I'm not sure I'm a fan.
Yeah, I feel like you have to give up your mid inhibitor at this point. FLICKR is way too far out of position.
He's backing though. SOFM looking for a flank engage. Not going to go for it. FPX going to be forced towards the top side, and they'll probably take this tower as well.
So you see FPX just collecting their gold lead that they were warranted with the Baron take. Already 2k gold up. 2 extra 1,000 gold up, I should say.
FPX going to push down towards this tier 2. FLICKR going to wave to their best ability, Snake, but all they really have for this is the Sivir. Oh, FLICKR potentially looking for an engage onto Gimgoon. He's gotten down a lot of damage. Ult is forced, and now again the first one to fall. Snake, if they can get the chase, they will win the fight. Unfortunately for them, they just don't have the tools for it. But one pick down will halt FPX for now.
And that was pretty much a solo kill coming in from FLICKR. just dealing enough damage to force Gimgoon off of the tower and then sniping out Tien, who tried to land the body slam in the smokescreen, couldn't find the target, and Flandre digs Snake out of a massive hole. That could have been an 8k gold lead for FPX, but the Baron buff delayed. Let's watch Flandre on it again. Does get the Hextech Gunblade. Good footwork. Dodges out on the body slam.
Oh, but here's another engage. Joinby's the one to take it off, but Asura is still alive. If he's able to kite this out and put down his damage, they might be able to win the fight. But the damage coming in from LWX. Asura is still alive. Hero's Entrance comes down as the AD carry for Snake has fallen. But SOFM is here. He might be able to take down Joinby, but Gimgoon comes in from the side. Flandre is here. He has the damage, but can he get the engages? Gimgoon still has GA. It'll be pop for now. The stun goes down onto Joinby. They're going to pick him off now. Gimgoon under tower, taken down. Chris, the last one standing. The double kill for Flandre. Soon to be a triple, and Snake clean up yet another fight.
Is Chris going to spin him over the wall? Ah, he can't get it, and still falls down to Flandre for the triple kill.
I really like that cute play, though, because I think what he was trying to do was wait till the shuriken flip mark expired and then toss him over the wall. Oh, maybe they'll get another kill here.
He's
Tien
going
is
for the
really
quad.
low health.
Flandre going in.
Unofficial.
That's not going to save you, Tien.
Yeah, you're still dead, buddy. There it is.
Oh, the full ace coming out from Flandre, and this is why you should always ban a Kali from Flandre. Digging them out of another hole. That was a good engage started by FPX and Doinby. They had the bot lane from Snake cornered, and you could see LWX was doing so much damage right here. Coming in with Doinby on the Ghost, and then Crisp as well. They're trying to get Asura, but good positioning from Asura forces the Killer Instinct out from LWX and allowing Mala to trade back the damage right there. A little bit unfortunate from Joinby, he could not get the initial disdain and the slow down onto Asura. So really this fight was started out in a good position from FPX, but an even better reaction coming out from the bot lane of Snake, able to draw the fight out until Flandre could come in and get the cleanup.
And with just that one team fight, Snake have said, don't count us out. Flandre is saying he is the hero. And now Snake are back in the game. They still have a chance. They've dissuaded the Baron push. And Flandre 6-2-3 on the Akali all of a sudden.
I felt like LWX could have played it with a little bit more patience. Their initial collapse was still very good onto the Snake bot lane. If LWX didn't go all in, maybe they could have withdrawn from the fight once the Snake members shown up. But I kind of expect that play out of LWX on the meantime. But of course, you also have to say that Doinby could have did a little bit more with his initiation there onto the Snake bot lane as well, but it was just better played on the Snake side in terms of execution.
And now pushing towards Baron. Baron still on the field, going to be an important objective for both teams. Snake has a renewed sense of vigor after winning that team fight, and the question is going to be how they can execute on it. Just going to push down towards this last outer tower for FPX. Should be an easy take.
Flandre last game as well did hit the full bounty gold, I believe. This time he's looking at that again, already at 850. If FPX want to swing this back, they have to take down Flandre. He's been doing too much damage into the late game.
And you look at Asura, who's their other main carry, and you look at that last fight and how safe he was and how long he lived. And that is what bought time for Flandre. We thought someone was going to have to buy time for him. In fact, it was the other way around. So much damage coming out, plus the lifesteal from the Bloodthirster now, that Sivir has a surprising amount of survivability in fights. But here comes the engage. Flandre's the first one to be engaged on. The stopwatch will save him. The hero's entrance onto 3.
He's still alive.
They still have the fight. Asura is alive as well. And so much AoE damage is coming out here.
Flandre goes back in.
Flandre, you monster! Mala will get taken out on the back. Flandre finally falls as well, but Asura, the last one alive for his team. He has so much damage, but not enough. LWX and FPX turn the fight. A near ace. 4-2.
That's one position where I would say maybe they went just a little bit too deep. It looked so good at the start of it because Doinby used most of his engage tools onto Flandre. They did lock down the kill, but you still have to remember the tower was still there, and Asura falling on Flandre's lead, going super deep, while Gimgoon was allowed to dish out tons of damage on the left side of the fight.
This is at the very least a mid lane inhibitor, but it could be the game. SOFM needs to not let that happen. And this looks like it's going to be game here for FPX, taking the series to 1-1.
And what a amazing turn of events right there. We thought that Snake was in control. We thought that it was going to be a good fight, but they just go way overboard. Probably drunk on their own comeback.
Snake really letting me down there, Clement. Hurting my feelings a little bit, but FPX, with a great second showing, they wanted to show us that they really still have what it takes. They can execute a macro game. It did have a little bit more fights than we were expecting. We were saying they could win it without them, but they said, it's the LPL. Let's have a little bit of blood. You can look at that. That is a sad story. That is such a sad gold graph.
Yeah, it felt like Snake were on the brink of coming back, but they really threw it all the way in the last team fight. As you can see, that gold shooting back down towards the FPX side. It was a great strategy once more from FPX. I really liked their draft. It was a draft that you could allow Gimgoon to be left alone. You could focus on the bottom side. There was late game insurance. So everything we talked about, FPX actually did pick up in the draft, and they were really successful with the early game as well. However, so far, from what we've seen, the team fights still go over to Snake most of the time. And I think that's going to be the same question that we're going to pose to these two teams. Aside from cleaning up your obvious mistakes as well, but it's going to be about, can FPX really have their way with their lane dominant strategy, and can Snake find their own footing later in the game with the team fights?
And I think the problem here for Snake, they really need to put their bot lane on something that has agency and needs to have something to do. Because I think the problem was they thought, okay, we're just Sivir, we just wave clear, right? Yeah, we just push. Yeah, cool. And they never really punished the Kai'Sa. They never really put the shutdown onto LWX that needed to happen. And LWX was allowed to scale up, allowed to be in that fight. And we saw in the very last fights that if you let a Kai'Sa do that, they will absolutely decimate your team. It doesn't matter that you have a bunch of items on Sivir if Kai'Sa comes in and 3-shots you in your own backline. So if Snake wants to win it again, I kind of hope that they play a little bit better towards their team comp. They play a little bit more proactively. And I think just tightening up the gameplay is the name of the game for both of these teams.
You know, the one big question that I've always had for Snake is, why don't you just focus the top side super hard with SOFM and FLICKR? Like, that seems to be the winning strategy in like game 1 and as for game 2 as well, but most of the times they don't actually do it. They play super passive and rely on that late game team fight to claw themselves back into the game.
Yeah, FLICKR always going to be the hero for Snake, and we'll see if he can make some more hero plays and bring it back for his team, or if FPX are going to get their second victory of the year here in LPL. Stick around, we'll be back in just a bit.